Hey everybody, welcome to Cool's Brackets, our first episode. Because March Madness is coming up, we thought, why not do some brackets? And what better than Billy the Kid and Billy the Kid movies? So we have some special guests tonight, both of which you should have seen previously on the channel with Cool's interviews. So we'll kick off with John and then Michael.
Hi, I'm John LeMay. I've written a couple of books on Billy the Kid now, and I live here in Roswell, so not too far from Lincoln and Fort Sumner and all that.
Hey, I'm Michael Anthony Giudicissi, Albuquerque, New Mexico. I'm a filmmaker and author, and John's written a lot better books than I have.
No.
I'm excited to start your book, Michael, and we just finished John's.
Thank you.
So yeah, I can't wait. Tonight we'll also have Cool's members Sam and Matt. Matt's going to come on a little bit later, but Sam will introduce himself here.
Hello, I'm Sam.
All right, so for this one, we picked 20 movies, or I did, and I try to give a good variety so that it's not all, I don't know, biopics and stuff like that, I guess you could say. So we'll start from lowest ranked to highest ranked, and I ranked these based on their IMDb score. So some of them definitely came in a lot lower than I thought they would have. But number 20 is Last Days of Billy the Kid. I'm not sure if you guys have seen it, but yeah, I can see why it's number 20. It's 1.4 out of 10. Number 19 is Billy the Kid versus Dracula. I know a cult classic in some ways, but it's a 3 out of 10. Number 18 is The Parson and the Outlaw, 4.3. Number 17 is The Outlaw, 5.4. Number 16 is Gore Vidal's Billy the Kid, 5.7. Number 15 is Billy the Kid Returns, 5.8. Number 14 is The Kid, 5.9, which is the one I was like, how did it get that low? Number 13, Billy the Kid from 1930, 6.0. Number 12, Billy the Kid, the female Billy the Kid versus vampires, 6.2. 11 is Dirty Little Billy, 6.2 as well. And if they had the same score, I just ranked them by which one came out first. Number 10 is The Kid from Texas, 1950, 6.3. Number 9 is The Left-Handed Gun, 6.4. Number 8 is Young Guns 2, 6.5. Number 7 is The Final Trial of Billy the Kid, 6.7. Number 6 is Purgatory, 6.8. Number 5 is Young Guns, 6.8. Number 4 is Chisholm, 6.8 as well. Lots of 6.8s. Then we get to our big 3. Number 3 is One-Eyed Jack, 7.1. Number 2 is Old Henry, 7.2. And number 1 is good old Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid, 7.2. So off of those, is there any surprises for you guys as far as how they're ranked off the bat?
I'm surprised that mine was ranked so high. I mean, IMDb is just brutal to indie filmmakers. When you hit 20, I thought you were going to have to go in the other direction to get to mine. So I'm happy.
Yeah, no, yours is really good. Me and Sam watched it the other day for a review as well for the channel, so we can help promote it. But we really enjoyed it. There's lots of good information. John, any surprises for you there?
No, I don't think so.
Not disappointed about Dracula being so low?
No, I didn't like that one, so I'm fine with that.
Well, I thought that was a 10 out of 10.
No, not even in a so bad it's good sort of way. Like, I don't know. To me, it was just boring. I was disappointed.
Once we'll talk about it a little bit more, but I did enjoy it. They couldn't kill it by like shooting Dracula, but they could like knock him out by throwing the gun at him. And I was like, what is this movie? All right, so we'll get to the bracket now. So some of these films will have like, I guess, a bye week because since it's kind of uneven, some of them will have to go against each other to move on, if that makes a little bit of sense. So in the first round, it's mainly the lower seeds. So we'll have number 19. We'll just start there because we've talked about it quite a bit, which is Billy the Kid versus Dracula, and it's going against number 14, The Kid. So I don't know who wants to start this one.
I'll start it just because, like, I loved old Hammer horror movies from that same time period, the 1960s. Obviously, I love Billy the Kid, so I had pretty high expectations for such a silly title. It just didn't do it for me. Let me down. So yeah, I don't know. I think my expectations of that one were just way too high.
I will say we probably didn't watch the best quality version of that one. It's just free on YouTube.
I
So, I
watched the
mean,
Blu-ray, and even the Blu-ray wasn't that great.
was it pretty dark still?
I mean, like, I guess what I'm saying is the improved picture quality doesn't.
Oh,
Yeah,
not a Criterion
no.
picture. Michael, do you have any thoughts on this film?
Yeah, so I obviously didn't get to watch them all. I watched clips of as many as I could. I've seen some clips of Billy the Kid versus Dracula. It's kind of goofy. I'm not a well, it's weird to say I'm not a guy who likes to traffic in fiction because I guess I do, but yeah, it didn't really do much for me. Um, I'm not a stickler for historical accuracy, but I'm pretty sure Billy the Kid did not fight Dracula, so it was a little too far out of bounds. But on the Kid, we're talking about the 2019 The Kid with Dane DeHaan, Ethan Hawke, right?
Correct, and it's the one that you guys actually played for the wrap, like the final party.
Yeah, yeah. I thought. Look, I thought the movie was good. It was really cool to see. It was filmed up at Bonanza Creek. I filmed up there. I got to see a lot of the stuff in the movie places I've been. The thing I didn't like about that, and I have to give it an edge over Billy the Kid versus Dracula, is that everybody's got their own Billy, and mine is not like a sulking, crying, kind of moody, emo guy. And I thought that was a lot of what Dane DeHaan was. And so, although I give that one the edge in this bracket, he's not my favorite Billy the Kid by a long shot.
Okay, I mean, I can definitely see that. I mean, any book you read about Billy the Kid, there's always like a different perspective on Billy. I think Dane was like our number one based on the movies we saw. But I'm also kind of a sucker for Dane DeHaan. Like he's one of my favorite actors, so any of his movies I enjoy. And Ethan Hawke too. He might be one of my favorite Pat Garretts. I don't know. Might be blasphemy for me to say it. Let's see. We'll hand it off to Sam and let him talk a little bit about these movies.
When we watched the Dracula one, I kind of found it slightly entertaining. It was like goofy, weird. Definitely had some quarrels with how they portrayed vampires, but in the 60s, I guess it was a little bit different back then. So I totally get it. I didn't think it was like super bad, but it was definitely very interesting. And there was a lot to it that like you're just like, all right, guys, come on. Like he's clearly not from any time. But I mean, I thought it was definitely fascinating. The Kid, I'm trying to remember. We've watched just watched so many of them.
I know I force these guys to watch like every Billy the Kid movie ever made.
Um, that one was, if I'm remembering the one correctly, that one was definitely very, very good. It was good, interesting. Yeah, I was gonna meme and do the Dracula one, but I'll probably go with the Kid, just because it was definitely not as the Dracula one was more comical, but the Kid one was a better representation of Billy the Kid, so I'm gonna go with that option.
So I think we're all on the same page so far with the Kid. I do like the Kid. It's one. I was surprised it was rated so low. I don't think it's gonna go super far in the bracket, but I do enjoy it. I just like how, I guess, it looks dirty for a Western, if that makes sense. A lot of Westerns, especially with Billy the Kid, he looks super clean, like he just came out of the city and stuff like that. It just doesn't look like a Western town. And so I do appreciate that. And as well as, I don't know, it's not quite as historical accurate as, I guess, the Billy the Kid New Evidence with Jor-El, but it was pretty good. So I think I'll also go the Kid over Billy the Kid. Matt says yes. He did a whole episode. All right, so Billy the Kid versus Dracula loses round one in a clean sweep, 4-0. The Kid moves on. So we will go to our next matchup, which is Billy the Kid from 1930. It's number 13 in the bracket, and it's going against number 20, The Last Days of Billy the Kid. John, do you have any say so on either of these two?
No, I'm sad to say I haven't seen either one of them. I'm interested in The Last Days of Billy the Kid because I wanted to give that title to my next novel. And even though you can't really copyright titles now, I kind of feel like I'll probably pass over that. But it's a really cool title. I don't know if the movie lives up to it or not because I haven't seen it. Haven't seen the other one either, so I better just let you all talk about them.
Hey, John, just take the S off days and make it the last day of Billy the
Oh,
Kid, and it's all
good
yours.
thought.
My
Good
gift, my
thought.
gift to you, buddy.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, that would work. Michael, what about you?
Well, the only one I've seen pieces of is Billy the Kid with Johnny Mac Brown, and I mean, at the time he was the big star. I know that there was some, effort and research put into starting to get the story together. It's kind of funny when you look at the names. I don't know if people were too close at 1930, but there's no John Tunstall. There's a John Tunston. There's a Bob Bollinger instead of Ollinger. I think it was. I don't know. Maybe the legal department in the studio said, "Hey, don't recreate these people. They still got family. You can't defame a dead person anyway." But I would have to go with that only because that's the only one I've seen clips of. And Johnny Mac Brown was kind of the star of the day for westerns, so I'll give that one a thumbs up.
Yeah, and for me, I'd also probably give it to that one as well. I think it's definitely the better of the two. The last days of Billy the Kid, I was waiting for Billy the Kid to show up. I guess it was strange. I mean, it's independently made, so I don't want to talk too bad about it, but I'll give it to Billy the Kid, 1930. Sam, what about you?
Like I said, I've watched a bunch of these, and I'm not really sure which one was which. But I'll probably give it to the 1931 because yeah, I don't remember those two, unfortunately.
And Keegan, can I give you one quick bit? Because I now remember a little bit more about the last days of Billy the Kid. I think the guy who made it made two films. And
Okay.
if it's the one I'm thinking of, it struck me that the entire film is ADR'd. Like they replaced all of the dialogue. There's no live. And I think the guy was his own crew. Like he just manned the camera, the guy who directed it. So he didn't have a sound man and couldn't get any sound. And it seemed like a ridiculously impossible task to ADR an entire film. You think you might have shoved a microphone like somewhere out of frame or something. So for that, I got to give the guy kudos, the filmmaker, because he worked his ass off. But kind of a rough way to go to make a feature with one camera and one guy.
Yeah, no doubt. And I mean, you definitely know how it is to make a film. We've definitely been out making films, and it's no easy task. So anytime you have to go above and beyond, definitely give credit to you. It looks like Matt is online. Matt. All right, so we'll give it to Billy the Kid, 1930. Not a clean sweep, but 3-0. So we'll move on to the final of this round, which is The Outlaw, which was number 17, and it's going against Gore Vidal's Billy the Kid, starring Val Kilmer. John, do you have anything you want to say about these two?
It's both of Gore Vidal's Billy the Kid, and what was the other one?
The Outlaw, Jane Russell.
See, both of those are pretty high quality productions from what I understand, so that'll be a tough one. But see, that's another one I haven't watched either one of them all the way through. So I'll pass again.
Yeah, I mean, I have to go with The Outlaw. Howard Hughes, Jane Russell, the specially designed bra to, push up her assets, and the fact that the film, kind of had to be held back a little till they could, clear whatever censorship went on. I mean, that was just an absolute classic, and kind of a like you would expect from Howard Hughes, a marketing masterpiece. You get the biggest, most beautiful star with the biggest boobs in Hollywood, and you put her in a Billy the Kid film. Who cares if her character existed or not? So I think it's just an iconic film because of the ground that it broke at the time. So The Outlaw gets my vote.
Yeah, no, this one's tough for me. I guess I will go with Gore Vidal's Billy the Kid. Val Kilmer is one of my favorite Billy the Kids, and he just, I don't know, I don't think he plays to the smarts of Billy the Kid, if that makes sense. But as far as the look and the story's decent. It's hard to get, if you're looking more at the authentic side, it's harder to get that more authentic touch to it. So I'll break it up. We'll give it a 1-1 so far. Sam, what about you?
Yeah, this is a tough one because they both were definitely pretty good as far as like the story goes. I might have to go with The Outlaw as well. No, they both were really good movies.
Yeah, no, I think as we get further down, it'll become harder. We might have to do some tiebreakers. I don't know. Matt, do you have anything you want to say about either of these two?
Kind of with Sam, and on this one, I enjoyed The Outlaw. It was pretty good. I mean, this was probably, I think, the hardest in this first round between what was there. Definitely made it interesting. Love Val Kilmer in his role, but The Outlaw just kind of gives it that little nudge on top.
Okay, so mainly clean sweeps in this first round outside of that one. But that moves us to round 2, which is a little bit more interesting. Let's see. So we will go with the previous winner, The Outlaw, is now going against Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid. John, do you want to start off?
Even though I haven't seen The Outlaw, I still think Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid should win, just because it's pretty close to the history. Even though they use some things that aren't really real history, like they have Bob Dylan in there playing Alias, which is a totally fictitious character created by Ash Upson in his Billy the Kid book he wrote for Pat Garrett. But still, that said, it's pretty close to everything that happened. Not like the entire Lincoln County War, but just Billy's like last year as an outlaw. So I think that one should win the whole bracket myself.
All right, we see which one John's pulling for. Michael, how are you feeling about this one?
I'm pretty torn here, actually. I really I love from a filmmaking perspective. I love The Outlaw. I love the production of it. I just love the idea and kind of just the momentum that film built. With that said, Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid was certainly a better, more authentic film. Chris Christopherson's 36 years old playing Billy the Kid. That's a little hard to swallow. He's got a little bit of the crow's feet, next on the sides of his eyes. Um, Gosh, I don't know. Peck and Paul was like off the rails, drunk most of the time on set. From what I've read behind the scenes, it just sounds like, yeah, you could stare at James Russell's boobs for I don't know, a month, whatever it took to shoot. But I think I'd rather watch Peck and Paul just tear into his cast and rip them apart. And by the way, hear Dylan riding Wagon Wheel in the background during a break between takes. So I'm going to go with Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna go with you guys on this one as well. It's not my favorite movie about Billy, but it's so iconic, and honestly, I think Bob Dylan, had he played Billy the Kid, I think he looks more like Billy the Kid than Chris Christopherson. But yeah, I definitely like this movie, and it's got some awesome music that goes along with it. So I'm going with Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid. Sam?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree with you guys on this one because it was definitely a little bit more accurate than The Outlaws, but I don't like putting movies against each other. It's so difficult because they all have their own unique takes on stuff, and so it's just is so hard to like actually like be like, yeah, that one's better, but like they were all like really good. I mean, besides a select few that were just kind of there more for a comedy base.
Oh man, wouldn't realize it was going to be this hard. Honestly, I mean, yeah, Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid definitely would take it on this one. It's tough. The Outlaw, like you were saying, it's so fun to watch. I mean, just action.
Is that what we're calling it?
Yeah.
Next up is, I guess, two more iconic Billy the Kid films. Number 9, The Left-Handed Gun, going against number 8, Young Guns 2. So this one could be difficult. I definitely think, I don't know. I'll get to my take on Left-Handed Gun later, but John?
Yeah, Left-Handed Gun, I think, could stand a chance against Young Guns 2 if James Dean had played Billy the Kid like they planned instead of Paul Newman. Because like I watched Left-Handed Gun at the Billy the Kid Film Festival in Las Vegas, New Mexico back in September. Then it would have been really great with James Dean. I don't think it fit Paul Newman. So yeah, definitely Young Guns 2 would be my pick on this one. And we'll have to talk about Young Guns 2 later and why it's so good whenever it goes against the next challenger, because I'll be really shocked if it doesn't win this one. But I don't know. So I'll save my thoughts on Young Guns 2 if we come back to it. But it's my pick.
Yeah, again, Left-Handed Gun was a good film. It's interesting that it was made, after it had been discovered that Billy wasn't a left-hander, and they still just stuck to that. Probably more iconic. But look, Young Guns 2, I was on vacation in Florida. I had just gotten engaged, went to the movies and saw it. The first Young Guns turned me on to Billy the Kid. And after this movie, I went right to Barnes and Noble to buy any Billy the Kid book I could find, and this started me on my journey. And son of a gun, if I didn't, go out and buy some Brushy Bill books after that too, because of the story before and after the main movie. So I've got to vote for Young Guns 2 here. I can't go against it.
Yeah, I think I'm on the Young Guns too as well. Obviously, I know John and me were talking about the James Dean stuff, and being that James Dean was one of my favorite actors, I think had he played this, it'd been much better in Left-Handed Gun. Especially looking at his roles in like Giants and especially like East and Eden and stuff like that. But Young Guns 2 is so iconic, even though it does touch upon Brushy Bill. It has the Bon Jovi songs I think everyone relates to the first Young Guns, even though they're in the second one. It's so iconic. I'm definitely voting Young Guns too. Sam?
I'm gonna definitely go with Young Guns too. The Left-Handed Gun, I for some reason just thought for the longest time that Billy the Kid was left-handed. And I get confused with that a lot. I'm like, wasn't he left-handed? But it's definitely right-handed. So I think that one kind of messed with me a little bit just because I was just like, oh, he was left-handed. That's insane. They're both really good as well. So yeah.
And then Matt, what about you?
Well, Young Guns takes it for me on this one. I didn't really get an opportunity to check out the Left-Handed Gun, so I don't know if I can honestly give a fair judging on this, but being that I have seen Young Guns 2, that one gets my vote.
All right, so another sweep. Kind of surprising when we get this long into it, but yeah, I mean, Left-Handed Gun gave Newman kind of the rise to where he was going, but there's a lot of issues with it, I suppose, and it wasn't made for him, so I guess we can't penalize him too much. But we'll move on to our next one, which is number 5, the original Young Guns. Going against number 12, Billy the Kid, which is the female Billy the Kid fighting vampires.
I need to watch this Billy the Kid female fighting vampires because I bet it's way better than Billy the Kid versus Dracula, is it?
I mean, not by a ton, but it's definitely better.
Okay. Well, obviously, yeah. I think Young Guns is going to win this one.
Yeah, I mean, I got to push Young Guns through. I think that that movie and Emilio Estevez's portrayal of Billy the Kid kind of reignited what was pretty much a stale legend by that point. So, and it was, I didn't know anything about Billy the Kid until I was sitting in the theater watching it. So it definitely opened my eyes. So that's my vote.
Yeah, and see, I included this one because they spell Billy Billie. And I know you did a whole video on like that letter, so I didn't know if you wanted to explain that letter real quick.
Yeah, I mean, there's been some, there are a few stories and legends handed down that Billy was actually a girl. I mean, it seems kind of nonsensical to even think about that, but yeah, that Billy was a girl. There's an interview with Chano Silva out of Fort Sumner who, said that Billy was very feminine and that when posses would come chasing him, he'd dress as a woman and put a wig on or a bonnet and go serve dinner to them, like kind of those crazy kind of things. But yeah, the Billie spelling, it is a telltale that Billy really was a woman hiding as a man. I give that rumor or legend, a 1 or 2% chance of come on, not even 1% chance of being true. But you got to have something to talk about when all you talk about is Billy the Kid. So we did an episode on it.
Yeah, there's tons of tall truths, right, John? I know you did a whole book on that one.
Yeah, sorry, I keep muting my my microphone. And then so I started looking for Billy the Kid, the female Billy the Kid vampire. And so I just stumbled across Billy the Kid and the Green Bay's Vampire from 1985, and it's something like Billy the Kid playing poker against vampires.
Yeah, there's surprisingly like a whole
Yeah.
genre of Billy the Kid and vampire movies that I did not know existed past Billy the Kid versus Dracula. Yeah, it's really hard to find this one. I actually found Billy the Kid off of Amazon.
Oh,
I was
okay.
just, but here, I will send you in the group chat the trailer.
Okay, thank you. And you guys were asking about Billy the Kid when he would dress as a woman to hide from the law and stuff, right?
Yeah, and you've done some of those
Yeah,
tall tales.
I just included it, and I don't think I included anything that you guys didn't mention already. Just basically that he dressed as a girl and just to hide from the law. So it's interesting. They said he couldn't grow facial hair, so for a while at least. So maybe that made it easy for him to pretend to be a woman. I don't know.
Hey, I got to admit, I've been in Fort Sumner a number of times, and I've seen real women that have facial hair more than Billy. So
I took the group there. When was that? 2020, I think, the first time. And then we stopped back through after the festival, UFO festival, and it's like super deserted. It was really deserted during COVID times. Like it was like ghost town deserted. Sam, what do you think about this one?
Well, we have unfortunately not watched the female Billy the Kid yet, or at least I haven't. Keegan has because he obviously has it on it from Amazon. But Matt and I, or at least I can say that I haven't seen it yet. So I'm gonna have to go with oh man, I forget which one we're up against. Who are we up against again?
It's Young Guns.
Young Guns, regular Young Guns. Okay. So I'll have to go with Young Guns just because I haven't seen the other one, so kind of has to win at this point. But I do want to check that movie out just for the funsies of it, I guess, just to see it and see how it is. Because I watched Dracula. I mean, it can't get any like I guess worse than that. I mean, it could, but we'll see. I mean, Keegan's smiling, so I don't know what that means, but I mean, I want to check that one out at one point just to see it and be like, okay.
Yeah, and I think one thing too about Young Guns is you can actually go to where they filmed this in New Mexico, and I know our group did that, and it's just so cool because you walk there, you see the church, you know, they sell the Tunstall store written on the side of the building, and so that's also really cool, and maybe why, just because you can live that experience a little bit more. Matt, what about you?
Didn't see the Billy the Kid with the female leads in it. Have seen Young Guns, and being where we were on site and on set, after they recorded, obviously, but it was pretty cool. But yeah, the job that Emilio Estevez does is phenomenal. He does a really good job portraying the part of Billy the Kid. That one's hard to top right now. So that one, probably, even if I've seen the other one, would easily get my vote.
We actually skipped a round one, so let's go back to that. So we'll go back to round one because I was bad and skipped it. Number 15, Billy the Kid Returns. And it's going against number 18, The Parson and the Outlaw. Two that perhaps not a lot of people have seen. So, John, have you seen either of these?
No, so I'll have to pass on those.
Okay, what about you, Michael?
I'm looking up the part. I haven't seen it recently. I'm looking up the Parson and the Outlaw because I feel like I've seen some of that, but I don't remember enough of it to be able to say that I could make an educated vote on this one.
Yeah, I feel like this one is kind of just fodder for the next round. Honestly, seeing what it's going to end up going against, I guess I'll just give it to The Parson and the Outlaw, and we'll move that one ahead.
I'm looking at the poster, and it says that the untold story of Billy the Kid, the only man who could outdraw Jesse James. So I'll vote for this one too, the Parson and the Outlaw, because I'd like to see. Jesse James wasn't really known as a fast draw. I think we could outdraw him, but whatever.
I've been to a lot of the James sites just because I'm related to him on my mom's side. Him, and then we're actually related to Bob Ford as well. And so it's weird, like our family met then. And so we have lots of stories. We have old tintypes and stuff. It's pretty neat. So let's get back on track for round two. We'll get to Billy the Kid 1930. It moved on to face Chisholm, which is more of a John Wayne slapping people around, especially if you watch the trailer. It's mainly just him punching people. But it does tell loosely the story of, Chisholm and some of the Lincoln County War, I suppose. John?
So I feel like I shouldn't have a vote since I haven't seen what it's going up against, but like Chisholm, I've seen many times, and Chisholm excited me more so because it's more Roswell based. Even though in the movie they moved him to Lincoln for convenience, those of us who live in Roswell know that's where his ranch was. So it's really cool to have John Wayne playing a Roswell figure, and I always felt like they were trying to set up a spin-off or sequel for Billy the Kid at the end of the movie because they have like a song where they're singing "What Will Young Bonnie Do" or something. So I always felt like they intended for a sequel that never happened, which is too bad. But no, I better not vote because my vote would be for Chisholm. Which even no matter what Chisholm was going against, I would probably give it high marks because I do consider it to be a pretty good Western.
Yeah, no, definitely a lot of Roswell ties. We've been working on a video ourselves that ties Billy the Kid story to the Roswell UFO crash, as well as I've been doing some digging into the photographer at the James Dean Death Car site, who's also a Brazel. And so I
Interesting.
was,
Oh wow.
yeah, I don't know if they're related at
Yeah.
all, but I was like, if they are, that's like three of my favorite topics,
Yeah.
all connected. So that'd be interesting.
Yeah.
Michael, how do you feel about these two?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen Chisholm a couple times, and whenever it's on, I'll leave it playing and watch pieces of it here and there. I think it was a well done film. I'm not the biggest John Wayne fan, by the way. I felt like, John Wayne played the same character in every film, and they just changed his name and his clothes. But um, yeah, but I would vote for Chisholm. I think it was a successful enough film that told enough of Billy the Kid story that it should move on and meet some of the more authentic films later in the bracket.
Yeah, and I'd have to agree as well. Chisholm, definitely not my favorite John Wayne movie. Like Michael, I'm not a huge John Wayne fan. Perhaps it's before my time, but I did like at least the persona more of Billy in this one, I guess. And he's younger. You don't really see the young Billy the Kid's back in that time. It's usually older actors. So I'll give it to Chisholm as well.
Trying to remember if I've seen Chisholm or not. I don't know if I have, or if I have, it's been a long time. I don't know. I'll probably go with the 1930 just because I'm not sure about Chisholm, if I've seen it or not. So I guess I don't know if my vote really counts on this, but I'll go with the 1930 since I know that one.
I've seen Chisholm. I enjoyed the movie very much. So I mean, it's just kind of a harder one because we're putting it up against movies that are in way different time frames. So you can't really knock the 1930 version just because it was older, so it was maybe not quite as cinematic, especially in our time frame. But I watched Chisholm. I'd watch it again.
All right, so Chisholm moves on. So we'll go to the other side of the bracket. And this brings back up the kid. And this one's going to be, I think, the toughest for me because it's the kid going against One Eye Jacks. And One Eye Jacks is by far one of my, maybe not my top 10, but probably top 20 favorite films. Obviously, it's very loosely based on the Billy the Kid story, but having watched this without knowing it was based on Billy the Kid, I started to pick up on that, and I was like, man, this is very similar to Billy's story. Obviously, for the time, like the authenticated history of Billy the Kid by Pat Garrett. But yeah, it's hard for me, but we'll pass it off to John first.
So I started watching it recently just because you endorsed it, and I'm liking it okay, but it's not drawing me in to the point where I have to finish it because I think I started it last week or something. And I just watched 5 or 10 minutes here and there. I like Marlon Brando typically, but I don't know if I should have a vote on this one because I haven't finished One Eyed Jacks yet. But I would probably lean more towards the kid just because it's more historically accurate by comparison. And then One Eyed Jacks, they just represent Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid, right?
Yeah, it actually started out as a Billy the Kid movie. I guess loosely the names were changed.
Mhm.
At the time, Sam Peckinpah was actually in line to do it. He dropped out. Then Stanley Kubrick came
Okay.
in.
Hmm.
And then when Stanley Kubrick left, they already had all this ready to go, so they just gave it to Brando.
Okay. Yeah, I better pass on this one, but I like the kid, but I don't know since I haven't seen One Eyed Jacks, I better not pass judgment.
Are you at least watching it on the Criterion version?
Yeah, I am watching a good print of it.
Yeah, okay, good. Yeah. Criterion always does excellent jobs. I want them to redo the assassination of Jesse James just because I think it would look really well.
I don't know. I liked both of these films. I liked how One Eyed Jacks, where he actually killed Pat Garrett and got away with it. So that was kind of a different twist. Obviously not accurate, but it was a unique kind of plot twist to it, essentially, or just a different version where he got away even though he was the outlaw, and they portrayed him as a kind of a good guy in it a little bit, besides robbing banks. But the kid was definitely pretty on point with a lot of their stuff. So I'll have to go with the kid, even though I did like One Eyed Jacks a lot.
Okay, what about you, Matt? I know you did obviously a true history of the silver screen episode on the kid. How do you feel about it going against One Eye Jacks?
I hate that this is one of the early rounders. I would have expected this being maybe like a third or fourth round matchup. It's a hard one. I mean, I saw One Eye Jacks just the other week for the first time in the Criterion collection. Excellent, well done movie. Acting was spot on. You know, the kid, kind of same thing. I think this was one of our favorite Billy characters next to Emilio Estevez. It's a tough one, man. Why in the first round? This is like tough, Keegan. I'm gonna give a slight edge to the kid though, just based off of the history being more reliable, and if I were wanting like history on Billy the Kid, something that's a little bit more accurate. But Marlon Brando, a standout job in his role as well. But the kid gets just the slightest little bit of a notch over One Eye Jacks.
All right, and I can see you again, Michael.
Sorry about that, guys.
No worries. I understand. So, back to the kid versus One Eye Jacks. Your feelings on those two?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Brando, his acting and just his technique. I think he just did great work, even though I don't think he he was the easiest guy to deal with. And I have seen the movie One Eye Jacks, but with that said, if it's a Billy the Kid film bracket, The Kid is a movie about Billy the Kid, and One Eye Jacks is kind of a movie about Billy the Kid. And so for that reason, as much as I like to push Marlon through, I'm going to go with the kid.
And one thing I was wondering about this one, because the kid in The Kid is called Rio, and Brandon's character is Rio. And I was like, I wonder if that was like intentional, because he even wears like the same clothes as Brando's character does in the beginning. So I was like, I wonder if that's intentional. I don't know. Oh, this is hard for me. It don't matter though. The kid's already moved on, so I'm free. I don't have to pick. So let's see which one we are on to now. So it's number 11, Dirty Little Billy. A very lesser known movie going against number 6, which is Purgatory, which is again one of those more fantastical movies. Obviously dealing with purgatory and different famed outlaws, Billy the Kid, Jesse James, Wild Bill Hickok, and some others. John, what are your feelings on these two?
I haven't seen either one, but I'm gonna watch YouTube clips of them while you guys discuss it.
Michael, how about you?
Yeah, I can't say as I've seen either of these either. I've heard of Dirty Little Billy, and from my recollection is it focuses on his kind of younger days, but I couldn't say I know either of them enough to vote. I'd have to flip a coin.
All right, now we'll move on to Sam then. Sam, how do you feel?
Well, I haven't watched Dirty Little Billy, but I did watch Purgatory, and I rather enjoyed that one. So I can't, like, my vote kind of doesn't really count on this, but I would say, yeah, I would just say I enjoyed Purgatory, but I can't really put a vote to it because I haven't seen Dirty Little Billy.
I'm kind of in that same boat, but probably as everyone. I've seen Purgatory, have not seen Dirty Little Billy. So unfortunately, I don't know if I can give a accurate vote. I mean, if we had to, Purgatory was a really good made movie. I mean, nothing against that one. It was great, but I definitely would want to check out Little Billy before I gave a 100% vote. But if we have to vote right now, Purgatory's got the vote.
Yeah, I mean, Purgatory is definitely fantastical. It's not very, I don't know, who is it? Donnie Wahlberg plays the kid. Yeah, he's not in it a lot. I do like Purgatory though. We'll just say Dirty Little Billy on this one just to make it a little. But I think overall that would give it to Purgatory.
I mean, technically, you've seen both of them, so Dirty Little Billy would go further because you're the one that actually watched them both.
Well, I was just trying to be different.
And Keegan, I actually, now that you mentioned, I have seen Purgatory.
Have you?
Once you said Donnie Wahlberg, I remember seeing it, and I just remember the one line where the kid or the young guy that winds up there and goes, excuse me for saying, but this guy sure looks like Billy the Kid to me, or William Bonney, or something like that. I dig all those concepts of back from the grave or stuck somewhere or something, but since I haven't seen Dirty Little Billy, I don't think it's fair for me to vote against it because it might have been great.
Fair. Yeah, some of these are like super obscure, I guess. Like there's so many films about Billy the Kid, I guess they just kind of get lost in the shuffle. And then the next one's going to be hard for you to vote on, Michael. But it's number 7, The Final Trial of Billy the Kid, and it's going against number 10, The Kid from Texas, 1950. John, do you want to start off?
I want to know what both of them are about. So, Michael, like the final trial of Billy the Kid, I watched some clips of it. Is that supposed to be like a Brushy Bill type thing?
So it's a film that has Brushy Bill and John Miller ostensibly bringing Pat Garrett to court and saying, "Hey, we're Billy the Kid and we're going to prove it," and then a court case that that examines the evidence. And the interesting thing, I guess, about the film is that it was actually intended to be a real court case. I had real attorneys, a retired judge, and I had looked for expert witnesses, historians and researchers in all of the stories, and all of the Brushy Bill experts, every single one of them, the authors that you would know and researchers all said yes, and then individually within 2 weeks all came back and said, I changed my mind.
Huh.
So there was nobody to sit in the witness chair for poor old Brushy, so I figured I'd have to just script it out.
That's awesome. Well, I think that one wins. And now, why is the other one called The Kid from Texas?
Just, I think, the sign of the times, kind of where they think Billy's from. And
Okay.
I
Yeah.
personally, I would say The Final Trial of Billy the Kid. We watched it. And is it Tom Fears plays Brushy?
Yes, it is. Thomas Fears. Uh-huh.
Yeah. No, he's excellent in this film because he looks like Brushy Bill, and just his acting, like it made you believe him. But then he started kind of have that breakdown where they were like digging into him. And then something when we were watching it the second time to do the review on it. I'm not sure the name of the actor who played Pat, but he reminded us of our friend Scotty. And I was like, oh, that's perfect. Like I liked it. And you came to the conclusion I think all of us kind of agree on as far as who Billy the Kid is. So I appreciate that. So I'll give my vote to the final trial. I mean, do you want to say any words more about it before?
No, I guess
Well,
yeah. Oh, I thought you, I'm
go
sorry. I
ahead,
thought you were
John.
talking to me. Sorry.
No, go ahead, John.
I was gonna say I'd vote for Michael's, even though I haven't seen either one.
Well, you guys can be nice this round, but you can't be nice like going all the way up to the finals because my tiny little movie against those big budgets not going to hold up. But I was of the 3 features I've made, I think this one came out the best. We did not have a lot of money to work with or a lot of time, and so I was really, really happy with the finished product. So thank you.
I mean, just for saying that, we're going to push it all the way to be number 1. No, but I did really enjoy it. And I think it deserves a better rating than it has. Like there's a lot of research and a lot of good information I think people can pull from it. And it's pretty fair, I think, on both sides. Not one side doesn't get to like rule too much over the other. It does bring up some of the discrepancies in Pat's story, and I'm still kind of on board with the idea that maybe Billy was actually killed in Paulita's room, and that's why they changed the story and why it doesn't truly add up. Sam, do you want to add a little bit?
Well, I haven't seen The Kid from Texas, but I did watch Final Trial. I did enjoy the Final Trial. That one was it was definitely very interesting, and I liked how they kind of like put holes in that story because I don't know, it was just I've always been weird about how like Pat Garrett's story. It was just like, yeah, this is how it is, and like he kind of created that story on top of other people that did it, and I'm just like, dude, he could have, I don't know, he could have made up stuff, and then like it was just like him put on the spot and like how he would react if like people accused him in that way back then, of which they probably did. But I don't know. I really liked that one, but I haven't seen the other one, so that one definitely gets my vote because I did enjoy that movie.
When I think too, one of the reasons he wrote the authentic history of Billy the Kid was how people were reacting. I mean, it didn't make a lot of money, but I still think had he wanted to like fabricate it more than how I kind of think he fabricated it, I think he would have made it a lot more grandiose, which in the long run would have hurt because that was Brushy Bill's story was this like mega gunfight that no one heard. But I think don't laugh. Sam knows my feelings on Brushy Bill. Um, so yeah, I think it deserves it, and we'll give the victory to the final trial of Billy the Kid.
Thank you, guys.
No, you did an excellent job. So that brings us to the next one, which is number 18, The Parson and the Outlaw, going up against Sam's favorite, Old Henry. John, have you seen these? Have you seen Old Henry?
I've only seen Old Henry. And I wish I would have been one of the people who saw it and didn't know what it was about. And then I would have been like, oh, how cool. He's Billy the Kid. But I knew it going in, so I didn't have quite as much of the surprise. Although it wouldn't have surprised me because he narrates his history in the first like 5 minutes and he says everything relative to Billy the Kid. So it's really only for people who aren't big Billy fans, I think, that get the great surprise that he is Billy the Kid the whole time. But very good movie, very good. But I can't judge it against the other one because I haven't seen it.
And Michael, what about you?
Yeah, so I'm just an apprentice filmmaker. I'm a geek for all things cinematography and the stuff that I just have not mastered. I loved uh, uh, oh gosh, not the Parson and the Outlaw, Old Henry. I just loved Old Henry. I thought it was a beautifully shot film. They made that film for $3 million, but the production budget was $1.5 million, which is, if you start making feature films, that's nothing. And some of these big films spend $1.5 million a day. And I love the story and I love the simplicity. Like you could tell they didn't have a lot of money to work with, but it looked like a high budget film. But there was only 2 sets. There's only 6 actors. I think only 5 of them even had any lines in it. I thought if you wanted to show a young indie filmmaker how to look like a pro and look like a big Hollywood director, Old Henry is the way to do it. By all means, I'd put that film through. Loved it.
Yeah, no, I would also vote for Old Henry. I thought it was excellent. I think like John, I also knew the like twist at the end, but like he said, like right away he says Henry McCarty, which if you know Billy the Kid history, plus there's a lot of like Billy the Kid stuff, so Billy the Kid, Henry McCarty, like kind of gives it away. But I think the acting was excellent, cinematography was really good. So I have to vote for it. Sam?
I mean, I'm going with Old Henry because I really like that movie, and if that whole kind of thing where he didn't actually die there, like that one would be an accurate representation of him, like getting away, just because he would just be secluded out, like nobody, not talking to anybody, just nobody knows anything. And so, like, if he by chance like got away and actually didn't get killed on that night, then Old Henry would be a good representation of what he would actually do afterwards and just disappear. Like, yeah, so that one's definitely going through for me.
Are you saying he's not doing what Brushy's saying he did?
No, I'm not. I know you want Brushy Bill to win, Keegan, but
No, Brushy. There's just so many leaps you have to go to believe Brushy's story. Again, everyone down there was super nice to me. The owners of the museum and everything. And they were very, very nice, very helpful. But he's a wanted outlaw. He's in Judge Parker's like grasp. He's in the Rough Riders. He's with Pancho Villa. He's the Pinkertons. He
U.S.
leaves
Marshal.
his job. Yeah, U.S. Marshal. He is working with the Horse Thief Association. Goes missing for 2 years, but they're still paying him for 2 years until he shows back up. I don't know.
And
It's
he
just
goes to the Shetland Islands, takes a 8,000-mile boat trip to go round up Shetland ponies because he's so good with horses, and then comes back to Texas.
that's like the one thing that's consistent with all his stories. No matter where he's at, he is helping the horses.
Always.
And another thing with him is like he's super easy to find in the census records. And I don't think he was lying when he was 2 years old. So, or I don't think his parents were. He's not on the run at that point.
The cool
So-
thing about Brushy is that he was like literally all over the world, but every 10 years he came back to Gladewater, Texas, as soon as the census taker knocked on his door to report in, and then he took off again.
Right. Well, where else did he go? He was in Cheyenne. He was a Bronco buster and won. He like won the whole thing, and I was like, I'm gonna go because we have the Rodeo Hall of Fame like 35 minutes from us, and I want to see if they have any record. I don't know. Enough of me venting about Brushy.
He won on a horse that hadn't even been born yet. So
Yeah. Well, he was born in a city that wasn't even made.
right. This is all blasphemy. If you're a Brushy fan, they're just gnashing their teeth right now. So we better move on.
Oh, believe me, I know. We did a comparison of Brushy story against Old Henry one time in the comments. But we will move on, and this is going to bring us to a possibly difficult matchup. It's number 1, Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid. And it's going against number 8, Young Guns 2. So, John, how do you feel about this matchup?
That's so tough. They're such different animals. So I would say Young Guns 2 is actually of more historical significance in terms of how many people it turned on to Billy the Kid, how many Billy the Kid fans it made, as opposed to Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid. It's a lot more fun, Young Guns 2 is. It's, fairly accurate apart from the Brushy Bill thing. And I think they were just being smart when they did that. I think it was like, well, what if we do want to do a third one? Maybe that way we can say he lived and suppose I still don't know what the story is about the third one they supposedly shot, like haven't released or whatever, but I think I'll actually give this to Young Guns too, because I think it did more for Billy the Kid than Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid. I'll give it to Young Guns too.
Okay. Michael, how do you feel about this one?
Well, I put Young Guns through so quickly, Young Guns 2 through so quickly before, because it really was the movie that kind of sparked my interest. But with that said, they didn't have a clean slate to work with. In Young Guns 1, probably a surprise hit. They killed off some people that shouldn't have been killed. And I just think with the budget and the time and the interest that they had with Young Guns 2, I think it was an inferior movie to Young Guns 1. I think the first one was better. And I think that they could have done a better job. And Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid, from that period in the 70s was kind of the seminal, movie about the legend. Gosh, it's hard to go against Sam Peckinpah for me. I'm going with Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid.
All right, 1-1. Sam, how do you feel about this one?
Well, I don't like the matchup. I'll go with Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid.
I'm a sucker for Emilio Estevez. I'm going with Young Guns too. Again, I don't like the matchup, but I don't know, something about Emilio Estevez. I guess similar to John, it kind of helped me, kind of kicked me into the whole Billy the Kid spin.
Why don't you guys make me the tiebreaker? Oh man, I feel like no matter which one I pick, it's just there's bad comments coming. I can feel it. I didn't. This is how they were ranked. I will say we'll go Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid. Barely. I know. I feel so bad. Doing it. Okay, but as far as theme songs, Bon Jovi or Bob Dylan. All right, so now we got one tough one out of the way. Let's see what our next matchup is. All right, so our next matchup is number 5, which is Young Guns, going against number 4, which is Chisholm. So, John, do you want to start off?
I think it's funny because both those are kind of similar because they both really focus on the Lincoln County War and the death of Tunstall, and they both portray him as an old man instead of a young man. So a lot of similarities there. But I'll go again with Young Guns just because I think it did more for Billy the Kid than John Wayne's Chisholm. And, as we all know in real life, John Chisholm never actually fought in the Lincoln County War like John Wayne did, which, isn't accurate. And plus, Young Guns is just cooler. So I'll go with Young Guns.
Yeah, so I'm gonna agree with John. I mean, the Young Guns was, as far as I'm concerned, a superior film in bringing the story to light. And I really love the way that they marketed the film because it wasn't marketed as the story of Billy the Kid. It was just all these Brat Pack actors. And you didn't know until you got in the theater and the movie started playing that it was Billy the Kid. And then, and for me, I went, what? Huh? Who the heck is this? And what do I know about this guy? So I thought that was brilliant. I think Emilio Estevez's performance as Billy is a little manic for my tastes. Like I think he's almost on the verge of insanity. But overall, I feel like if you got to see the real Billy the Kid, he'd probably be somewhere closer to that than any of the other portrayals. I think it's the movie that reignited his legend. So I'm going Young Guns.
I'm going to go with Young Guns as well. I mean, again, it's not really fair because I haven't seen Chisholm as far as I know. I looked at a trailer for it and it kind of looked familiar, but it's been so long if I have seen it, so I can't recollect it very well. So I don't take that as you want to, but I'll go with Young Guns too. Or Young Guns, sorry, not you.
I got to go with Young Guns on this one.
So a clean sweep, 5-0 for Young Guns, because I'll give it to Young Guns, and it's hard not to. It's more Billy than Chisholm. It's definitely more focused on Billy than Chisholm was. And Emilio Estevez is super iconic as far as being Billy the Kid. He might not be like my favorite actor, that my favorite portrayal, I should say, of Billy. But I know like anyone thinks Billy the Kid, they think Emilio Estevez. Even our actor Jeremy, who played Billy for us, kept referencing that movie, and I was like, no, don't play it quite like that. But because Michael's right, it seemed like at any moment he could just like shoot someone down. All right, so now we're on the other side of the bracket, which pits. Let's see. It looks like The Kid versus Purgatory.
I've looked up Purgatory. Purgatory looks pretty cool, and even though I haven't seen it, I think it's okay to just say The Kid probably beats that one since Billy's he's not really much of a focus in Purgatory, so I feel like that's what gives The Kid the edge, besides just the fact that The Kid's a pretty good movie. I'm not in love with it like a lot of people are, but I will admit it's a good movie, so I'm confident to just vote on this one and say The Kid.
All right, Michael, how about you?
This is closer for me, I think, than it is for John because when you started talking about Purgatory, and I remembered a bit of what I saw. Man, I love that whole dynamic. I love the idea of time travel. I love the idea of resurrection. I love the idea of somehow, some way, like meeting these people and being able to talk to them. So that's tough. And The Kid I thought was a pretty good movie for the budget until I saw Old Henry and said, wow, they had half the budget of The Kid, and I think they made a movie that was twice as good. Dang. If I vote my heart, if I vote my mind, I would have to say The Kid, but my heart says take Purgatory just because it's a cooler idea. I'm going to go with Purgatory. If you tell me I can watch either movie right now, put it up on the big screen, that's the one I'm going to choose to watch.
Okay, fair. Sam?
I mean, the way Mike put that, I'm going to have to kind of agree with him just because, yeah, The Kid was more accurate, but Purgatory, I don't know. That one was just such a unique, like,
All right, so for me, I would have to say The Kid. Yeah, see, Matt, I'm not letting myself be the tiebreaker. Now you can be the tiebreaker. But I have to say The Kid. Like I said, Dane DeHaan's one of my favorite actors, and it's so good at. I mean, honestly, it's a fictional story that ties in Billy the Kid, but I think it does it so well. And Ethan Hawke, obviously, we've done a lot with him as far as Tesla as well. So I'm just gonna have to say the kid. Matt, now it's on to you to break the tie.
Great points all around. The Malvern Purgatory. Love the spin on it. I agree. You didn't realize what you were watching until you're like, wait a minute, what the heck kind of going on here? And it's kind of a cool concept. Absolutely it is. And the kid, like you touched on, oh man,
Come on, Matt.
I'm not faster.
No, I'm not trying to rush you. I'm trying to influence you.
Right. No, if I had to put it
Give you a
on
dollar.
and watch it right now, I'm putting on Purgatory because of the just the uniqueness in it. I enjoyed it, and once you realize what's going on, it's okay. I'm not confused anymore. I'm enjoying it. But if you're going on accuracy, the kid with the Han was great. I'm gonna flip a coin. No, hang on. I'm gonna go with the kid on this one. Just 'cause, like I said, sorry, it's just it's just I don't know. It's on historical accuracy, not like anything real accurate about either one, but just I enjoy the kid as well. It was this one I don't like. This should have been the championship matchup, maybe.
I mean, we're definitely getting close to that final four. We got one more matchup to get there. And that pits number 2, Old Henry, against the final trial of Billy the Kid. I'm sorry. It's just how the bracket goes. I didn't rig it. The internet did. All right, John, how do you feel?
Well, since I still haven't seen the last trial, I don't think I should vote.
All right, Michael, how do you feel? Your movie versus
Dang.
Old Henry.
This is harder for me than the last one, to be honest with you. Like I really love the film I made, but I remember writing to the guy who was my executive producer after I saw Old Henry and said, man, I hope that someday I get to make a film like this. Like, I hope I develop personally as a filmmaker and as a screenwriter to be able to do something this good for this little money. So I'm proud that my film made it this far. If I'm asked which one I'd watch, I'd have to put on Old Henry. So that's what I'm voting for.
All right, tough matchup. Sam, how do you feel? It's like you're one of your top 2 almost favorites on this list.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't like this matchup either. I'm not going to like any of them from here on, but yeah, I don't know. This is a tough one. I'll do the final trial of Billy the Kid, even though I really love Old Henry. I'm going to go with the final trial. That one was really good.
Thank you, Sam.
Not a problem.
All right, Matt, how do you feel? Sam's very angry at me right now. I didn't put it like this.
I'm gonna go with Old Henry on this one. Just again, this is so close, and it's hard. It's not fair to have to pick, and I think Old Henry's gonna get my vote on this one.
All right, so it looks like Old Henry's moving on, but Final Trial did pretty good in that matchup. So Michael, good job. But now we are down to our final four, which is definitely, I think, where we're gonna hit some walls. So on one side we got number 1 Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid going against number 5 Young Guns. John, do you want to start us off on this really hard matchup?
Yeah, I'm definitely more of a fan of Young Guns 2, actually, as opposed to Young Guns 1, oddly enough. So I think when it came to Pat Garrett and Young Guns 2, I just had more nostalgia for Young Guns 2, but for 1, I haven't seen that one as many times. And I actually think I like Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid in this instance. So I'll vote for that one.
Okay. Michael, how about you?
Another tough one. I like even for the cinematography back in the 70s. I like Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid. I love that cinematography. Um, I just like the way that film looks. Young Guns was nicely done. Don't get me wrong, but it was a relatively low budget film for its time. Um, but man, it's just so hard to get for anyone from my era to get past and say, hey, there was a better Billy the Kid film than Young Guns is really. I wouldn't look. I wouldn't be here in Albuquerque right now. I wouldn't have written books. I wouldn't have made movies if it wasn't for Young Guns. I mean, it just never would have happened. Um, so I'm going to have to vote for Young Guns here.
I'm gonna go with Young Guns. I did like Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid, but Young Guns was I don't know. It's so hard. Yeah, I'll stick with Young Guns.
Young Guns is one step closer to the championship. Matt?
This one was a little bit more of an easy one for me. It wasn't as hard as some of the previous ones. I'm going to go with the 1973 Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid. I just enjoyed the cinematography for, a 70s film as well as they did it. And the acting in it was really outstanding, so Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid for me.
All right, people are getting the torches ready because now I got to also push this one. I think Matt did that on purpose. Whew. Whew. Which one do I send to the championship round? I'll have to say Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid. I know some people might crucify me for that, but wait, hold on.
You took your finger off the checker. I think that's it.
All right, we'll push it through. Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid. Has number 2, Old Henry, going against number 14, The Kid. So, John, how do you feel about these two?
That's really tough because one is kind of just a fantasy with Old Henry, but it's a really good fantasy. A lot of people loved it. Sometimes I do feel like The Kid gets a little overrated, even though I like it. I think my big qualm with The Kid actually is I would not have put Chris Pratt in it because he's too big and too likable. And I think people sit there and The Kid and they're like, well, when does Chris Pratt come into play? Why is he the bad guy? I felt like that was kind of distracting. I think he would have been better off to not be in that movie just because I think that evil uncle character would have been, I don't know, maybe less distracting. But otherwise, I mean, the idea of Billy the Kid viewed through the eyes of kind of a young guy who worships him. If I'm even, that's basically it, right? Because I saw it once, like back in 2019. That's correct, isn't it?
Yeah, like
Yeah.
the brother and sister, they're out on the run. They come across, Dane DeHaan, who plays Billy, and in Stinking Springs when they get captured, and he takes a liking to him. Billy keeps telling him he's like him, and he kind of looks up to him. And Dane DeHaan has a great shot of him looking just like the tintype in there.
I mean, I feel like Old Henry is the more enjoyable of the two. And Old Henry is kind of similar in the sense that we could argue that at its core, it's about Billy the Kid and a boy, but in this case, the boy is his son, doesn't know he's Billy the Kid. That's a tough one. I feel like Old Henry resonated more emotionally. I'll go ahead. I'll go ahead and vote for Old Henry.
Well, when John talked about Chris Pratt, it reminded me of the first scene of the film. Just really, really brutal in The Kid. I felt like that scene was actually too much and was kind of unnecessary as far as they took it. I remember just like not not wanting to watch more of the movie if it was going to be more of that. But aside from that, it certainly was a well done movie. Um, Man, you got the wrong guy on this end of the camera to vote for The Kid because there's been so many movies that have kind of told the truth and gotten close to the truth, and that movie kind of got close to the truth. Um, but that old Henry, just that I can't. I'm in love with that entire idea of, and I think it was Sam that said it earlier, that if Billy did live, it was way more like that than Brushy Bill. Like you went somewhere quiet and you hid your guns and you just kept your mouth shut. And my mind is always just tantalized by that. What if? What if? What if? There wasn't any what if in the Kid. And gosh, I got to say, I think the Kid was like $5 or $6 million budget. I think Old Henry was 3 million, and I think Old Henry was a better film, and that's the one I'm voting for.
I mean, I'm gonna go with Old Henry as well. I did really like that movie a lot. That one was really good. So I'm definitely gonna have to go with Old Henry.
I'm on board with everyone else on this one. Old Henry is going to get my vote on that one.
All right, good. I don't have to tie break to send this to the championship. So it brings us to our final two. Maybe we'll talk a little bit more about these two since they are our final two, but it's our number 1 and number 2 seeds, made it all the way. Number 1 being Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid versus number 2, Old Henry. So 2 iconic films. It's too early to say Old Henry's iconic, but I definitely think it could get that way. John, how do you feel? You don't have to pick yet, but just talk about these two real quick.
I think it's intriguing that we've landed on two kind of polar opposites, just in the sense that one is a brand new film, like almost the newest Billy the Kid film we could possibly talk about, that's totally fictitious, not even based on, like we said, it's not even based on Brushy Bill. It's not based on John Miller, not even based on Walk Along Smith. It's just a random Billy the Kid who's still alive. Then the other one is an older movie with a lot of pedigree. It's got big stars in it, like and then we've got Sam Peckinpah as the director, Bob Dylan as the composer. I mean, I'm ready to make my choice, but I'll wait if you're wanting to go around first.
Yeah, we'll give our arguments. Maybe some will side us one way or the other. Michael, how do you feel about our final two?
I think it's a good matchup. I mean, I think both films deservedly are here. I was thinking about it as John was talking, and if you go back to The Outlaw in the late '40s, it was about every 10 years there was kind of a new iconic Billy the Kid film. There was The Outlaw, and then there was The Left-Handed Gun, and then there was Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid, and then there was Young Guns. Um, and then it kind of stopped. In the 2000s, we had the Kid certainly, and we've had Old Henry, but there really wasn't, unless I'm missing something, like any big tentpole type film that would reintroduce Billy the Kid. And I think that says something, that people wanted a new expression, kind of a new interpretation of Billy in the 20th century. But maybe we moved past them a little bit here. And so from that standpoint, then I look at Old Henry and go, well, if we move past Billy, then what better place for him to be in some little farm, stuck in the hills of wherever the heck they were, Tennessee or something, and to retell his story as if it didn't happen the way that Pat Garrett said. It's really tight. The Pat Garrett and the Billy the Kid is an iconic film for the reason Sean mentioned. We'd never have Knocking on Heaven's Door, probably one of the most iconic rock and roll songs ever. We had, some top A level talent in that, a big budget. Shoot. Yeah, I'm not ready to divulge my choice, but it's a tough one. I think they're both really, really well done films, but completely different. And so if you like fantasy, you're going to like one. If you like reality, you're going to like the other. I guess we'll see who likes what more.
Yeah, and I think it's really an interesting matchup because obviously we all know the story of Billy the Kid. You guys do a lot of research about Billy the Kid. We've done a lot of research. But at the same time, you both have written kind of like fantasy stories about Billy the Kid or time travel. And so it's really kind of interesting to see that these both have kind of paired up. Sam, do you want to give your final thoughts on these two?
Yeah, this is definitely a really tough choice because Old Henry kind of gave me play some video games, and Old Henry definitely gives me some Red Dead kind of vibes towards the end, where they weren't essentially from the government, but the government comes up to take him out at the end, and he ends up taking out all of them. or a good majority of them. I don't know. I liked it for that. I definitely liked both of them. They were both really good. The one does have like a lot of big stars, like everybody has been saying. And
All right, Matt, what about you for our final two?
I think, Michael hit it on the head perfectly. You got two totally different movies here, both absolutely deserving to be in this championship matchup at the 1 and 2 seed. I can't really add more on than what he said. It was perfectly said. It's going to be a tough one. It's going to take some thought here. But no, it's a great championship matchup. Both movies totally different, but yet so relatable in a sense.
They are definitely very different. The look of Old Henry is, I mean, it's such a well shot film. It reminds me of the 2007 film, The Assassination of Jesse James, just how the cinematography looks like some just beautiful shots, but it is very fantasy based. But I do like how he is just living out on his own, not getting any trouble, just being a lowly farmer. But then we go to Pat Garrett and Billy Kid, like Michael said, lots of big actors. Obviously, Chris Christopherson came back in for Requiem for Billy the Kid, where they kind of went into the Brushy Bill story, and he narrates that story again. But then we also do get Knocking on Heaven's Door, which have been remade since Bob Dylan's made it. So I don't know. It's hard. Obviously, it's the championship round. It's not going to be easy picking, but we'll start off, John. How do you vote this round?
So, just in terms of pure enjoyment, Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid is still the one that I want to watch again several times as opposed to Old Henry. And I think Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid is the right choice just because it's more historically accurate. And, if you want to watch Billy the Kid, even though, like Michael said, he's 36 years old, and he's too big. He's kind of a big guy for Billy the Kid, but still, in terms of their locations and stuff like that, you're still watching the old Pat Garrett actually shoots Billy the Kid and all that. And it's I go with that one.
All right, Michael, how do you feel?
Well, just as a quick aside and tidbit, the first I shot a little teaser reel for Back to Billy, the first thing I ever actually really made up in Corrales, New Mexico, at a winery. They had an outbuilding there, and the guy Addison Foskey, actor here from New Mexico, that played Billy, was 40 years old. Now, I will say Addison was a young-looking guy, and we shaved him real tight and everything like that. So he didn't look like he was 40; he looked more like he was 25. But he had Chris Christopherson beat as far as age, so not without precedent. Oh man. Well, I'm going to give you my reasoning, then I'm going to give you my choice. My reasoning is that, look, I don't think any of us really know who Billy the Kid was. We know what he did. We know where he was, at certain times of his life. But I think if we had to draw up kind of a prototype of Billy the Kid, the five of us, we'd come up with five different people. And because of that, he's a legend. He lives in our minds and imagination. People take that and they create what they want out of it. And I think that that's the rewarding part. And that's why people are still interested in him. The vast majority of people that are, interested in Billy the Kid movies don't care whether it was Tunstall or Tungsten. Don't care whether Billy shot George Pepin or he put a bullet in Brady. They just, the overall story. And so, because there's so much fiction in Billy the Kid's legend, I'm going to go with the more fictional story here because, as I've said, I loved Old Henry's great filmmaking and a great, solo freshman effort by Potsy Ponsorelli. He's the screenwriter and director. So I'm going with Old Henry.
This one's tough for me. I mean, I like Old Henry maybe more as a movie. Maybe slightly. But if it's hard for me to pick it over Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid. I don't know. Neither one of these are my favorite film about Billy the Kid. So I think it makes it a little bit easier for me. I'm going to have to say Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid for me.
well, Matt, I'm sorry. I thought he was going to have me as the final picker, but don't know how Matt's gonna go, but I'm going with Old Henry just because I like that like more fantasy kind of style to it of just like you never really know. I mean, Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid is definitely more accurate and obviously should win this one, but I'm definitely going with Old Henry just because I really enjoyed that movie. And to stir the pot a little bit.
All right, so tied 2-2, and we give it off to Matt. Matt, this could upset a lot of people. It could make a lot of people happy, so no pressure.
Well, it's good. I'm glad to be the pots or people talking, which is good. Again, it falls back to, if I were to turn the TV on right now, if I were to watch another one again, or you to ask me, what should we put on? I think I'm going to go with Old Henry.
So Matt just picked Old Henry as the winner.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so I'm sure we just had a bunch of rage quitting people. Though I did see some comments in one of your shows, Michael. A lot of people were saying Old Henry for the win, and I don't. So I know a lot of people like it. I don't. Like I said, it wasn't my personal favorite Billy the Kid movie, but it is really well made. So hey, for our first bracket, some controversy, but Old Henry takes the cake, I suppose.
All right.
All right. So, yeah, Old Henry wins the Billy bracket of 2023. I'm not sure if we'll do another one. We definitely need a lot more movies made first. But, we have two guests today. Like I said, John and Michael. So we'll let you guys tell people where they can find you. John?
I finally got my own website. People have always told me I needed my own website. I call my publishing company Bicep Books, so it's just www.bicepbooks.com. It's got all my Western stuff on there. I didn't do any of my film history on that one, so that website is just my Western history, so it's probably the most appropriate for this audience here.
Obviously, it's book 2, but it deals with the Billy the Kid legend, so I'm sure our viewers would be very interested in that.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thanks for mentioning that one. So yeah, if you since Old Henry won, Once Upon a Time in Fort Summer is about the survival of Billy the Kid into 1950, and I like to think that it has its cake and eats it too, and that the Brushy Bill haters will like it, and the Brushy Bill lovers will also like it.
I loved it. It was
Thank
great.
you.
I also love the twist about where Billy's buried. I won't give it
Yeah.
away, but I love how what you did with that, and it's got skinwalkers, so
Yeah.
can't beat that. Michael, where can people find you?
Yeah, a couple places. I've moved my entire series of Back to Billy books over to a new print house, and so they're now all available on Amazon. And if you just look up my last name, you can find my author's page with all 7 books in the series. Book 8 is now completed, and I'm in the rewrite, and that one is called The Runes of Legend, Book 8 in the Back to Billy saga. Or you can just check me out on YouTube on my channel, All Things Billy the Kid. Come on in and say hi or curse me out or make death threats or whatever most people do when they start talking about Billy the Kid and Brushy Bella Roberts. And if you want to watch the final trial of Billy the Kid, you can go watch that on Tubi, Zumo, or Amazon Prime.
Yeah, and again, another great film. We really enjoyed the final trial of Billy the Kid. You have Billy Palooza coming up. I didn't know if you wanted to mention that.
Yeah, we got a bunch of nuts on the YouTube channel that decided that somehow they should all get together. And I mean, we're talking people from the UK and from Australia, some from Sweden, and all across the USA. So September 23rd and 24th, we're having an event in Lincoln, New Mexico, Billy Palooza. It'll be music, tours, speakers, food, content. We got a Billy the Kid lookalike contest, a Colonel Dudley roast by Susan McSween impersonators, and it's going to be a fun deal. So you can find out more about that just by tuning into the YouTube channel, All Things Billy the Kid.
Sounds like a fun time. I'm not sure if we'll be able to make that one just because of our work situation as of late is not very good. But yeah, we hope to get down to New Mexico. Well, we will get down to New Mexico. It might just be for the Roswell UFO Festival, but Lincoln Days is coming up, and I know John said it's a fun time. So I don't know. Maybe we can do a crossover down there sometime as well.
Awesome.
Awesome. Well, you guys have a wonderful night. Thank you for helping us debate
Yeah,
and
thanks,
pick a
guys.
winner. And yeah, we'll see you guys soon.
All right.
Go old Henry.
Yep.
Thank you, guys.
So once again, big congratulations to Old Henry and everyone involved in the making of that film for winning our inaugural Cools Bracket video. Also, big thank you to both John and Michael for joining us and helping us really deliver, hopefully, what was a really fun episode for you guys. I know it was super fun for us. Outside of me possibly now being haunted by Emilio Estevez for picking against him twice. But no, we had a lot of fun. Make sure you go support both John and Michael. I will link everything in the description below. They both have books out, as you can see with John. Book 2 of the 21 Gun series with Once Upon a Time in Fort Sumner, as well as Michael with Back to Billy. All of his books are now available on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. But if you want to see more Cools Brackets once we do some more, a link will appear in the left-hand side of the screen. For more of us here at Cools Paranormal, such as movie reviews, including Michael's final trial of Billy the Kid, click that link to your right. And don't forget to hit that like and give us a subscribe. And let us know, how wrong were we today? What is the best Billy the Kid movie in your opinion?